So when this video ends, I want you to click the link and I want you to visit our online university platform and take a look at our School of Prophets master's program. We have almost 200 lessons teaching you everything you need to know. If for some reason you haven't watched some of the previous videos that we've been sharing on some of these lessons, just take some time to go back and look at them. But today I want to take just a few minutes to talk about the calling of a prophet. Now, I've already done a few videos with regard to how you know if you're called to be a prophet. And in our lessons throughout our School of Prophets Master's Program, we give you a lot of detailed information on how you as an individual can know if you're called to be a prophet or if you're just an extremely prophetic individual, which I've always believed that whether you're a prophet or just an extremely prophetic individual, you still should want to know more about prophets and have a better understanding of how prophetic ministry works with you within the framework of your relationship with God, because this is how God speaks to you. If you've ever heard God say anything to you, if you've ever received a word from the Lord, if you've ever gotten an inspiration from God or just read something or had one of those aha moments, well, that's an act of God prophetically communicating his mind and his heart to you. So that channel of communication is actually prophetic. You might just not have an understanding of it. But again, we'll get to those conversations at another time. Today, I want to talk about the calling of a prophet. The calling of a prophet. Now, again, when I use the word prophet, I don't want you to just think about an individual like me who might operate as the office of a prophet or who assumes the of a prophet in the body of Christ. I also want you to think about a prophetic individual, whether you're a leader in the church or whether you're a follower, you're a parishioner, you're a member of a church, you're a business person, but you're a Christian, you have a relationship with God. Well, guess what? Even if you're not called to be a prophet, all Christians are called to be prophetic. It's just a matter of them getting the training that they need so that they can build up that prophetic muscle to sharpen their skill set when it comes to hearing the voice of God and being able to understand the mind of God and how he communicates to you, or with you rather. But the calling of a prophet or a prophetic individual can be defined in two ways. And I want you to take notes of this. It can be defined in two ways, all right? You have a direct calling and you have an indirect calling. Those are the two ways an individual is called to the office of a prophet, or individuals are called to become more prophetic. It is either direct or indirect. Now, when you think of a direct calling, it's basically self-explanatory. It is when God speaks directly to you, like he did to Prophet Samuel. In the book of 1 Samuel chapter 3, when God speaks to Samuel, Samuel continues to go to Eli, if you read it, because God actually sounds like Eli to Samuel. If you read the story, God comes to Samuel and calls him, Samuel, Samuel, and Samuel goes to Eli and say, did you call me? Eli said, no, I didn't call you. He goes back, lays down, God calls him again. So finally, when he goes to Eli, Eli has enough sense in his craziness to tell him, the next time you hear that voice, respond to God. But it's very key to understand, even though Samuel had a director who was actually the founder of the School of Prophets, it's very interesting to note that God initially sounded like Eli, or Samuel's leader. That's very key, because even when you're in the process of developing yourself to hear the voice of God and understand the mind of God, although you're called, sometimes being under a leader and becoming familiar with obedience and faithfulness and loyalty helps to build your prophetic muscle and sharpen that ability to hear directly from God. So a direct calling is when God speaks directly to you. He gives you the clear instructions. He gives you the directives. I like to associate a direct calling to a mandate, because it is an authoritative order. It is exactly what God is saying to you. It is exactly what he's telling you to do. That is a direct calling. Now, an indirect calling is different, because it is God calling you, but he's calling you through, or indirectly through, someone else. In the book of 1 Kings, this is how the prophet Elisha was called by God. Now, Elijah was a seasoned senior prophet, but God told Elijah to go to Abel Mahola and to anoint Elisha as the prophet in his place, or as the one who would rise as his successor in prophetic ministry. And when he threw the mantle on Elisha, that's when he received his calling, which is why I like to associate an indirect calling to a mantle.